Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Devotee Gopi Jana Vallabha Devotee Yashodanandana Vrajanandana Yashodanandana Vrajanandana Yamunadhira Yamunadhira Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Vrajanandana Yashodanandana Vrajanandana Yamunadhira Yamunadhira Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nagar, Parthasarthi, Radha, Parthasarthi, Hare. Jaya Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman, Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shadshi Shimate Dani Goswami Abhay Chanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Founder Acharya Iskcon Devotee Srila Prabhupada Ki Sri Guru Parampara Ki Grandaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Grandaraj Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Grandaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Jai Shri Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Gopal Krishna Adichinare Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So this is last chapter of Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter 11, the final lesson. Despite his promise to live, Srila Prabhupada said his life was still in Krishna's hands. Everything was in Krishna's hands. His free choice did not mean that he was absolutely independent. The only person who is absolutely independent is Krishna. Devotee is given the biggest independence. Nobody else can have such independence like a pure devotee. Rather, the pure devotee's attitude is to freely surrender to Krishna, whatever happens. So devotee is always in this mood of complete dependence on Krishna. In the mood of the gopis, the foremost devotees of the Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, "You may handle me, you may handle me roughly in your embrace, or make me broke-hearted by not being present before me, but you are always my worshipable Lord, unconditionally." So, devotee is never complaining, why it's happened to me. he always thinks that if something bad happened, that's Krishna's grace. He is reducing my karma, just giving small portion of what I would have with my karma. Because the exchanges between the Lord and His pure devotees are always supremely personal. Both Lord and His devotees express desires and individual will. In His childhood Leela, Krishna sometimes breaks Mother Yashoda's butter pot, and sometimes He allows her to catch him and bind him. In any case, the will of the Lord and the will of the devotee are always one in interest, but they are sometimes expressed in the form of a loving conflict. Similarly, although Srila Prabhupada had promised his devotees that he would stay in the world and defy death, he still remained surrendered to the will of Krishna. Pure devotee is always wants to fulfill the will of the Krishna. He does not have any separate desire. His only desire is to satisfy Krishna and to satisfy his spiritual master. He does not have any separate will. Srila Prabhupada had already expressed his surrender in the prayer he had given his disciples to offer on his behalf. My dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. By the phrase, if you so desire, he was reminding his followers of the supreme prerogative of Krishna and was asking them to abide by it. Although he was also giving them an acceptable way to petition Krishna. In a similar case, in 1967, he had given his disciples another prayer. My master has not finished his work. He had said then that Krishna had responded to this prayer, granting the wishes of the devotees. Srila Prabhupada himself was responding to the devotees' prayers, and Krishna had given him the choice. But as a surrendered soul, Srila Prabhupada waited for further development, ever sensitive to Krishna's desire. As Prabhupada had said, when invited by Kirtanananda to come to his palace in New Vrindavan, let us see which palace I am going to. Pure devotee, he does not have any separate desire, so he only wants to understand the will of the Lord and to fulfill the will of the Lord. So he is very sensitive, and we can see this in the life of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. They are also very sensitive what Krishna wants. They want to understand it properly and to fulfill Krishna's desire. They are following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. As a loving tension can sometimes exist between the Supreme Lord and His pure devotee, so now a similar tension existed between Srila Prabhupada and his followers. Prior to his disciples' desperate petition, At his bedside, Srila Prabhupada had seen his duty as instructing his disciples in how to die. Part of this mission was to set the perfect example in this most important lesson, how to pass life's ultimate test. But now his disciples were asking him to postpone the lesson in dying and stay with them indefinitely in the preaching field. And Prabhupada had agreed, showing that he had the ability to live it at the choice. But sooner or later, he would have to return to the lesson on how a person should face the end of life. Very important lesson, final exam, final lesson. And Srila Prabhupada was saying to his disciples, they were surrounding him at the time of death, that don't think that it will not happen to you. You should be ready anytime, because Krishna can call a person at any time. We don't know where is our last day. Sometimes it happens very quickly, like in our brahmachari ashram. One brahmachari, he left the body, he was 19 years old. Krishna called him very quickly. Just for a few years he was distributing books. He was disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. For a few years he has distributed books and he felt pain. And on Lord Balaram's appearance day, early morning, he left the body, chanting Hare Krishna. 19 years old, Krishna decided this, he has to go. So we should be ready at any time to fulfill this final test, to pass this exam. One special feature of Srila Prabhupada's activities in his relating intimately to the human condition, while at the same time remaining aloof and transcendental. As a pure devotee, he was not subjected to the law of karma, which awards reaction in pious and skillful deeds. He was not born by the force of karma, nor would he die by force of karma. One interviewer, he has asked Srila Prabhupada, when did you realize God? And Srila Prabhupada, he did not want to directly answer this question, and he continued his preaching. But interviewer was very insistent. No, I mean, well, at what age you have realized God? He repeated maybe 4 or 5 times this question, and finally Srila Prabhupada decided to answer this question. He said, 4 years old. Yes. And the interviewer was very shocked, and he didn't know what to ask more. He was thinking that Srila Prabhupada would describe a long path, that after 50 years of practice I have realized God. But he said, I realized God at 4 years, when I was 4 years old. So there was no time when Srila Prabhupada was not realizing God. So he was not at all subjected to the law of karma. As stated by Srila Rupa Goswami, one whose body, mind and words are fully engaged in the devotional service to Lord Krishna is a liberated soul even while living in this world. People often misunderstand the moments of a pure devotee within the material world, just as one on seeing clouds blowing past the moon may think the moon itself is moving. The Shastra therefore warn us never to see the Guru as an ordinary man subjected to karma. But Srila Prabhupada, while always transcendental to this world, showed the conditioned souls how they too could come to the stage of liberation by constantly thinking about Krishna and serving Him, so that at the time of death they could return to Krishna in the eternal spiritual world. And Srila Prabhupada's lessons were always practical and universal. Srila Prabhupada's books, for example, were not mere theory, but were practical and full of realized knowledge. And Prabhupada practiced what he preached. His entire life was exemplary. He had been in family life, and even then he had vigorously preached by starting his Back to Godhead magazine. In poetry and obscurity, he had struggled to start a spiritual movement, and by the grace of Krishna and his spiritual master, he had become successful. Srila Prabhupada started to print Back to Godhead magazine in what year? 1944, in the middle of Second World War, when everybody was thinking how to survive. Srila Prabhupada was thinking how to save all the conditioned souls. He was not in the trouble that war is going on, I have to survive. No, he was always thinking how to help the conditioned souls, so he started to print Back to Godhead magazine and to distribute. He was personally going out to distribute. It was newspaper, it was actually, it was not a magazine. It has only 2 pages or 4 pages. But the message was very powerful, and many people were becoming inspired by his message. And also he was showing an example how one should remain completely peaceful even amongst war. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he is describing the story in his book Ocean of Mercy. He heard the story from close associates of Srila Prabhupada from early days when he was Grihastha. It was 1944, and Japan announced that they will bombard Kolkata. And it was strong statement, so all the inhabitants of Kolkata was immediately leaving the city. They knew that Japan is not joking, they will bombard. And one god brother was staying together with Srila Prabhupada. And he prepared to leave, And he asked Srila Prabhupada, when will you leave the city? Srila Prabhupada said, I will not leave the city. He was shocked. He asked, what will you do? He said, I will do Harinam. With whom will you do Harinam? Everyone is leaving. Some old people, handicapped, they left. They were not able to leave the city, so they remained in Kolkata. So Srila Prabhupada took Mridanga, he gave karatals to his servant, and he went out on the streets chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So all these old people and handicaps, whoever remained, they'll join his party, Sankirtan party. Can you imagine such a Sankirtan party? Old people that hardly can walk and some handicaps with Srila Prabhupada chanting on the streets. And next day Japan announced that they will not bombard the city. So Srila Prabhupada had a full faith in the holy name and protection of Krishna. So he was not worried about the war so much. And when devotees, they asked Srila Prabhupada about Third World War, what we should do when the war will start and the bombs would fall down on us. Srila Prabhupada said, the bomb is also Krishna. You can continue chanting Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada was teaching us, and he was showing himself how to follow these teachings. He was not just proclaiming very high truth, but in private life, no, it's modern preachers. They are preaching something, but they are not following. So everyone is becoming atheist because they are preaching high truth, and in their private lives they are not following. People are very frustrated with such preaching. So Srila Prabhupada expected us to preach and also to show an example. Otherwise people are very frustrated. He had been in family life, and even then he was vigorously preaching. He was always shown by his human-like attempts, his willingness to bravely take an austerity and face danger. He had shown exemplary spiritual life for all to try and follow. He had gone alone in old age to a foreign country and had chanted Hare Krishna in the park in New York City, attracting the young men and women in America. Yes, Srila Prabhupada was preaching in this Tompkins Square Park, sitting under the tree. He was playing a drum, and he was teaching others how to play karatals, because nobody knew how to play karatals. He was showing them 1, 2, 3. So he was playing this drum, and somebody was playing karatals. And because it was the time of the hippies, so many young people were there in the park, and they were joining with their different instruments. So it was multi-instrument Harinam. 10, 15 different instruments joined the Harinam. And Srila Prabhupada was showing them, yes, join. Everybody was joining who has some instruments with guitars, violins and all other instruments. So it was not like now we have traditional type of Harinam, it was informal type of Harinam. And these young people, they were very happy that they are appreciated, that they are allowed to join, so they were playing their instruments, getting the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Not many of them, they joined immediately, but they got the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, so they may join next life or few lifetimes later. So they got the mercy by participating in this Sankirtana Yagya together with Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, everyone should take the example and try to serve Krishna despite the immediate impediments. Srila Prabhupada encountered obstacles, yet by his free will and the help of Krishna, he surmounted them. This was his wonderful example. So devotee, he does not fear obstacles. Srila Prabhupada was given an example of Kshatriya. If a Kshatriya is walking on the street, and somebody is approaching him and saying, "Let's fight," what is the reaction of Kshatriya? He is very happy. Let's fight. If some of you will go on the street and somebody will approach you and will say, "Let's fight," what will be your reaction? Not many people, they like to fight because they are not Kshatriyas. But Srila Prabhupada was given an example. If Kshatriya is offered opportunity to fight, he is very happy. Let's fight. I will show you now. So, in a similar way, Srila Prabhupada was saying, a devotee, when he is meeting some obstacle, he is very happy. Because now he has an opportunity to surrender more to Krishna. So, he is very happy. Now I have some impediment. Oh, it's great opportunity to surrender more. So, Srila Prabhupada met so many obstacles, so many difficulties. You already finishing to read the Prabhupada Lilamrita. Hundreds and thousands of obstacles and difficulties. From very beginning to the end. So many obstacles, so many difficulties. But he was very happy because he had an opportunity to serve more to Krishna, to surrender more. So our goal is to surrender to Krishna. And if we will try to surrender, we would meet many obstacles. If we are not trying to surrender, obstacles will come in any way. But if we will try, we would meet many obstacles and this opportunity to surrender. So devotee, he is not trying to avoid difficulty. When difficulty is coming, he is surrendering to Krishna and overcoming this obstacle. And when we are beginning our way to surrender to Krishna, these obstacles are very small, these difficulties are very small, and if we are overcoming this difficulty, we are getting spiritual strength. Then bigger obstacle will come, when we are getting spiritual strength, bigger obstacles will come. And if we are overcoming this difficulty and passing the test, we are getting more spiritual strength. And the bigger obstacle will come, bigger test will come. It's like when we are studying in the school. When we are studying on the first grade, we have small exam. If we passed an exam, we are going to second grade. Bigger exam, next grade. In our last year of studies, we have very big exams. So, same happens on our spiritual way, on our spiritual journey. We would have bigger and bigger test. And the final test is death. We have to prepare for this test. If we passed all the tests on the way to death, so it will not be so difficult to pass the final death. But if we are trying to avoid these obstacles, so we will not prepare for the final test. So we have to be ready that some tests will come. And we have to be ready to pass the test. And Srimad Bhagavatam is describing how devotee meets difficulty. Tattenu kampam susamikshamana bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvagvapubhir vidadham namaste jiveta yom muktipade sadaya bhak. So devotee is surrendering himself. Hrid, vak and vapu. He is completely surrendering himself to the will of the Lord. He accepting this test. And he is thanking Krishna that you gave me just a little bit. I deserve much more difficulties. By your grace, I am facing only some small difficulty. So devotee is ready to pass the test. And we also should learn from devotees how to overcome difficulties, and Srila Prabhupada is showing everything by his example. In the midst of biggest difficulties, he was surrendering himself to the Lord. His life is an ideal example, and in every chapter we are reading how Srila Prabhupada was facing some difficulty. But as a result, Krishna recognized him. Now we see that the whole world is now hearing, reading about Srila Prabhupada's life. Prabhupada Lilamrita is being printed in all major languages, and people, they have an opportunity to read about Srila Prabhupada. And they are getting some wonderful experience by reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And also some miracles sometimes happens with Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Like in Russia we are distributing on the streets this book Prabhupada, on Prabhupada life, in one volume, yes, this book. And many people, they are buying this book. And one lady, old lady, she bought this book. She was reading it, and she had some problem with the ghosts. And she understood that Prabhupada is a saintly person, and she started to pray to Srila Prabhupada, and the ghost has gone from her house. And after some time, another old lady, her friend, came to visit her. And she also had some trouble with ghosts. And this lady said, "Oh, I have a wonderful book. You can pray to the saint and he will help you." She said, "Really?" She said, "Yes, he helped me." So she gave this book to her friend lady. She put book in her house. She started to pray and the ghost has gone. And after a few days, book distributor came to her door. He knocked her door. He showed her some of Srila Prabhupada's book, Bhagavad Gita and other books. She said, yes, I like to buy all these books. He said, "Why?" "Because this person, he helped me." I was relieved from ghosts. And she related her story. So Srila Prabhupada sometimes is showing some miracles to the people and they are becoming inspired to start the practice. Sometimes he is appearing to some people in the dream, like recently one lady, she ran to book distributor. She said, this man, he appeared in my dream and he said, "You should go to this place, there is one man, he is distributing books there, you should buy a book from him." So Srila Prabhupada is continuing his preaching through his books. He said, as long as book distribution is going on, I will never die. So by distributing these books, we are participating in this great mission started by Srila Prabhupada. He is continuing his preaching, and we are helping him. It's a great opportunity. So we have to grasp this opportunity, and in this way we will get so much mercy. And we should read this Prabhupada Lilamrita. Everyone should have in their home at least one set of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And also you should supply one set of Prabhupada Lilamrita to all of your relatives, friends, because many of them, they could not understand philosophy, they are not interested in the philosophy, but they will be very happy to read some storybook about great personality. Many people, they like to read books like this. They are not so much interested in philosophy, but they are very happy to read Prabhupada Lilamrita. How many of you have Prabhupada Lilamrita in your house? Not so many. So you should get at least one set for yourself and few more sets for your relatives. In India, people have many relatives, so you should supply all of your relatives with Prabhupada Lilamrita. Hare Krishna. If anyone has any questions, how many of you will get one set of Prabhupada Lilamrita at least this year, during this year? How many of you would like to get one set of Prabhupada Lilamrita? Please raise your hands. Hare Krishna. And you should inspire everybody else to get a set of Prabhupada Lilamrita. Such a wonderful book. I am reading all the books about Srila Prabhupada that coming out. last book that I finished recently is The Ocean of Mercy by His Holiness Bhakti Swami. It's an amazing book. He joined Srila Prabhupada's movement in 1976. He met Srila Prabhupada first time in January of 1977 in Kumbh Mela. And immediately he has got a service. Srila Prabhupada said to him, I want you to translate all of my books into Bengali. That was his first service. And he did this service during the 19 years. He finished last book in 1996. He offered to Srila Prabhupada last book. And after that he made this wonderful movie, Abhay Charan. He traveled all over the world and he was making this movie. And he did a lot of other services. And for 1977, for the whole year, he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada. So he described all the leelas that happened in 1977. One of these leelas was in Mayapur on Guru Purnima Day, 1977. He has got first and second initiation together. And one disciple, Bengali disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he came to meet Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur. They had a very nice talk with Srila Prabhupada. And after a sweet exchange, this devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, can you tell me about my Siddhadeha? Everybody knows what is Siddhadeha? Our eternal service in Lord Krishna's pastimes. Everyone has some special form and special service in Krishna Lila. And Srila Prabhupada became very angry with this person. Srila Prabhupada said, you are a fool, this is your eternal position. For 10 minutes Srila Prabhupada was shouting, you are a fool, how you dare to ask these questions, first deserve, then desire. And at the end, Srila Prabhupada became again peaceful, like nothing happened. And he said, when time will come and you will be ready, I will tell you what is your eternal position. But first you should follow all of my instructions. When you will become purified, I will tell you. It will be revealed to you. So, if you will follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions, at the proper time, everything will be revealed to us. And now I am reading memories described by Brahmananda Prabhu. He had also a lot of association. Satyaraj Prabhu compiled a book on the basis of his memories, and also a wonderful book. I'm trying to read all the books about Srila Prabhupada because he gave us unlimited lessons during his life. We can learn so much just by reading his pastimes. And he said that all you need to know is there in my books. So if you will study his books, we will get everything we need to make a spiritual progress. So we have to read his books again and again, many times. I have a friend, he left the body recently, Thakur Mahashaya Das. He read Bhagavad Gita 240 times. It was his favorite book. Every year he was reading Bhagavad Gita at least 10 times. Every year. And he left the body day before Gita Jayanti, and his cremation was on the day of Gita Jayanti. Last Gita Jayanti. Last Gita Jayanti. Krishna arranged everything to glorify him. So if you read Bhagavad Gita less than 200 times, you have to read again and again. Because these books are so deep, it's impossible to understand everything just by reading one time. You have to read it again. No, there are no, yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for inspiring. Thank you, Ambarish Maharaj, for inspiring, and thank you very much, Maharaj, for inspiring to read and distribute Prabhupada books. Maharaj, I have a question. Like when we read Prabhupada books, sometimes there is a tendency that we become too much engrossed in the part of the knowledge that we try to develop more and more knowledge, forgetting the mood behind the reading the Prabhupada books. So how we can have that service attitude, how we can develop that service attitude while reading Prabhupada books?
Yes, these books are, Srila Prabhupada was saying, they are not different from Krishna, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. It was special mission of Srila Prabhupada to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam, to make it available to the whole world, because Bhagavad Gita was already translated 600 times before Srila Prabhupada. And special mission of Srila Prabhupada was especially to bring Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam has a special mission to create a revolution in this age of Kali, to bring a revolution, to bring us closer to Krishna. So it's a special input of Srila Prabhupada that he bring to the world this glorious book. We know that in Gaudiya Math they were mainly concentrated on Chaitanya Charitamrita. They were not given so much stress to Srimad Bhagavatam. But Lord Chaitanya was preaching Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada, he understood this special position of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he concentrated his efforts on Srimad Bhagavatam. He was not even planning to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita. He gave teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and he was thinking that it's maybe enough. But he concentrated on Srimad Bhagavatam. So these books are non-different from Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was personally reading these books because it's a service. It's one of the most important service to read Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is waking up the dormant love of God that is there in our heart. Special influence that Srimad Bhagavatam has. Sanatana Goswami is describing this in his Krishna Lila Stava. He is saying that every word of Srimad Bhagavatam is full of drops of love of Godhead. So that's why Srila Prabhupada was saying that even if they will read one page, then he said, no, not even one page. If they will read even one paragraph of this wonderful book, Srimad Bhagavatam, no, if they will read only one sentence, no, if they will read only one word, their life will become changed. So we have to approach these books in the mood of service. We can pay obeisances before reading this book. We can offer incense, flowers to the books to remember to ourselves that now we will do very important service. We will read this book with full attention. Because sometimes we are just taking the books like an ordinary books, reading, and after reading we could not even remember what I read today. I don't remember. Something nice was there. But if we are approaching the book in the mood of service, like Pujari, he is entering the room, chanting prayers, not just he's coming to the altar and starting immediately to offer aratik. There is a preparation for this. Same way we can prepare ourselves for reading, and then with full attention we can read. And if we would share with others what we read, we would remember it even more better. So it's a good practice. If you read today a book, you can share with few people what you have read. You can call your relatives, friends, and you can say to them, today I read a wonderful thing, and you can repeat what you have read. Then this knowledge will go very deep in your heart. Also, you can share with your friends on social media that I have a very nice paragraph from this book. You will become inspired and you can share with others. The more you share, the more mercy you will get. And some people would become inspired to read the book if you will share with them some paragraphs.
What happens if one does not read Prabhupada books at all?
Yes. Because our devotional service is not stable, if we are not reading books, the waves will increase in our service. If we are reading books, the waves decrease, and it will become more and more and more stable, less waves. So it's very important to read Srila Prabhupada's books every day. Otherwise, we will just drown. If the wave will become very strong, we will drown. So it's so important to read Srila Prabhupada's books. We can find some friends. If it's difficult for us to read alone, we don't have so much taste, we can find some person that have more taste. If we will read together, it will be easier. Because for some devotees it's very difficult to read alone. They are opening the book and on the second page they are already sleeping. So, but when you are reading together, it will be more difficult to sleep. Many devotees, they are organizing reading groups. They are reading on Zoom, like 10 people, they are reading one by one. Then they have small discussion at the end. So we can use different technologies for reading. Otherwise, we will drown in the material world. Kali Yuga is very strong. The waves are very strong, and it's very difficult to swim on these waves.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances and thank you for this wonderful class. Maharaj, my question is, in this process we are hearing about different books, sometimes about Srimad Bhagavad Gita, sometimes about Bhagavatam, sometimes about Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we inspire and take those books, and it is now in my home. But at times we start reading about one book and then after some time to go to another book and then to another book. So just wanted to understand what process we should follow, what sequence we should follow, and how to develop that, practice that we should complete one book only first, and if that one book, then what that book would be. So that's the question. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, there are different styles how to read books. I like personally to read one by one. When pandemic started, we were all like in prison in our houses, so I decided to organize a group in Zoom. First we read Bhagavad Gita in 30 days. We were reading every day for 1 hour. So we finished Bhagavad Gita in 30 days. Then we read 12 cantos of Bhagavatam. It took us 450 days, I think so. We read all 12 cantos. Then we read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then we again started Bhagavad Gita. So we can make some schedule. For this month I am reading Bhagavad Gita. We finished Bhagavad Gita, then 12 months. Usually, if you are reading for 1 hour every day, it will take around 12 months to read all 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. So you can make this schedule and read. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. First of all, thank you for your wonderful lecture and your wonderful association always. I wanted to ask you that many times our Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Sri Lanka Parkeshan Goswami Maharaj tells us that the Russian devotees, they are very attentively chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Russian devotees are very attentively reading Prabhupada's books. Russian devotees very attentively hear Bhagavatam and Gita lecture. He also tells us that the Russian devotees are very attentively, carefully distributing Prabhupada's books, very steady. And he's telling us, why don't you Indian devotees become like Russian devotees? So could you tell us what is the secret that Russian devotees so much please Guru Maharaj? That is part one. And second, you mentioned about 1944, the bombs were coming and Srila Prabhupada was having a Harinam Kirtan with the old people and those who were handicapped, invalid. And also in 1944, also one spiritual personality appeared, His Holiness Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj Ji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Not that Russian devotees are very special, but at least in Russia, all the people, they like to read books. During the Soviet time, Soviet Union was number one in producing and selling books all over the world. Bookshop was in every corner of the city, bookshop. So people, they like to read in Russia. That's why they are so happily buying Srila Prabhupada's books, reading them. Some people, they start to read immediately. They just bought a book and they sit and read the book. So people, they like to read the books. That is some type of culture there. And devotees also, they like to read books. Some devotees, when they have got Bhagavad Gita, they read it just in 1 week. They could not stop. It was their first book. So Srila Prabhupada's words are so attractive that sometimes one could not stop. And if we will understand how much our spiritual life depends on Srila Prabhupada's books, we would read them very attentively. So we have to practice. We should put some goal. I want to read all of Srila Prabhupada's books. We should calculate how much time I will need. Like if I have only half an hour per day to read Srila Prabhupada's books, it will take 3-4 years to read all of Srila Prabhupada's books. So we need some understanding how to do this. We can ask for help from senior devotees that they would help us to make some schedule for reading, and we should read. Maybe we should have somebody to report, otherwise we may forget that I decided to read every day, but if we will have some counselor, we would report. For this week I read Srila Prabhupada's books for 6 hours or 7 hours. Sometimes devotees are getting so much tests for reading Srila Prabhupada's books, they can read for 6-7 hours without stop, completely absorbed. So we should understand what is our capacity and try to increase this capacity step by step. We should start from something like, if you are not reading, if some of you are not reading Srila Prabhupada's books at all, you can start with 10 minutes maybe every day, then you can increase. Because sometimes it's difficult immediately to read Srila Prabhupada's book for 1 hour every day. But if we will start with something, then we can increase. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I will speak in Hindi.
Yes.
Somebody can translate to English for you. Panjannath or Hanuman Prabhu, translate into English for Maharaj. I will speak in Hindi. तो आज का जो पाठ है प्रभुपाद लीलामृत का, इसमें ये बात आई है कि प्रभुपाद कर्म के बल से पैदा नहीं हुए थे। प्रभुपाद कर्म के बल से पैदा नहीं हुए थे और न कर्म के बल से उनकी मृत्यु होनी थी। तो प्रभुपाद का जो जन्म है वो कर्म के अनुसार नहीं हुआ और न उनका शरीर छोड़ना है कर्म के अनुसार। तो सब प्राणी जितने भी हैं भौतिक जगत के, ये कर्म के अनुसार ही वो पैदा होते हैं, अपने कर्म के अनुसार पैदा होते हैं, वो कर्म के अनुसार मरते हैं। कर्मणा जायते जंतुर कर्म न विलीयते। तो सब प्राणी कर्म से ही पैदा होते हैं, उनका अपना बस नहीं होता कि वो कैसे पैदा होंगे, कहाँ पैदा होंगे। उनका कर्म उनको जो है जन्म देने के लिए विवश करता है। लेकिन प्रभुपाद का जो जन्म है और कर्म है वो दिव्य है। जैसे भगवान कृष्ण कहते हैं जन्म कर्म जमे दिव्यम, मेरे जन्म और कर्म दिव्य हैं। तो इसी प्रकार से प्रभुपाद का भी जो है जन्म और कर्म दिव्य है। चैतन्य मंगल में भी बताया गया है, भगवान चैतन्य भविष्यवाणी करते हैं कि यदि पापी धर्म छाड़ी दूर देशे जाए, मोर सेनापति भक्त जाई बेतथाए। कि चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने भारत में उस समय जब प्रचार किया था तो पूरे भारतवर्ष को जो है कर दिया था, प्रचार कर दिया था, लेकिन भारत के बाहर नहीं प्रचार किया था। लेकिन चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने भविष्यवाणी की कि आगे चल करके कुछ ऐसे भी पापी होंगे जो भारतवर्ष को छोड़ करके दूर देश में जाएंगे और धर्म को छोड़ करके दूर देश में जाएंगे, तो मेरा सेनापति भक्त वहाँ भी जाएगा, तो उनको पकड़ने के लिए जाएगा, उनको भी कृष्ण भावना भावित बनाने के लिए जाएगा। तो चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जो भविष्यवाणी है उसके अनुसार प्रभुपाद चैतन्य महाप्रभु के सेनापति भक्त हैं। तो प्रभुपाद हरि बोल। तो जैसे भगवान चैतन्य का जन्म कर्म के अनुसार नहीं हुआ, अपनी इच्छा के अनुसार स्वतः भगवान जो है जन्म लेते अपनी इच्छा के अनुसार चैतन्य महाप्रभु। तो उसी प्रकार से उनका जो सेनापति भक्त है तो वो भी भगवान की इच्छा के अनुसार, चैतन्य महाप्रभु की इच्छा के अनुसार जन्म लिया। तो चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने ही निश्चित किया कि प्रभुपाद किस घर में जन्म लेंगे और कब जन्म लेंगे, और ये चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने निश्चित किया कि कितनी आयु में वे जो है भारत छोड़ेंगे, विदेश जाएंगे। तो उनकी जन्म कुंडली में लिखा हुआ था कि 70 वर्ष की आयु में ये बालक समुद्र पार जाएगा और एक ऐसा घर बनाएगा जिसमें पूरी दुनिया रह सकती है। तो ये जो है हरि बोल, ये प्रभुपाद की जन्म कुंडली में लिखा हुआ था। 108 मंदिर बनाएगा ये बालक, 108 मंदिर बनाएगा पूरी दुनिया में। तो चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने निश्चित कर दिया था, प्रभुपाद के जन्म और कर्म सब निश्चित कर दिए चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने। लेकिन हमारे लिए निश्चित नहीं है, हमारा निश्चित नहीं है। हमारे लिए क्या है कि हम करें अपनी रक्षा और अपने कर्मों को सुधारें, अपने कर्मों को बिगड़ने ना दें, हम भक्तों की संगति में रहें। तो ये हमारी जो है चिंता है। लेकिन प्रभुपाद हैं चूँकि आध्यात्मिक जगत से आए हुए थे, तो कभी कभी कहा जाता है कि वो आध्यात्मिक जगत के राजदूत थे, है ना। तो उन्होंने आध्यात्मिक जगत का संदेश दिया। तो प्रभुपाद का जो संदेश था इतना शक्तिशाली था कि विदेशों में भी प्रभुपाद गए हैं और बिल्कुल निर्भीकता से प्रभुपाद ने जो है उनकी निंदा की, उनके सिद्धांतों की निंदा की। तुम लोगों का जीवन कुत्ते बिल्लियों के समान है। ऐसा शक्तिशाली जो है एक संत आज तक नहीं हुआ कि विदेशों में जाए और इतना शक्तिशाली जो है वो प्रचार करे। तो प्रभुपाद चूँकि भगवान की शक्ति से समन्वित थे, भगवान की शक्ति लेकर के आए थे, वैकुंठ से आए थे। तो वैकुंठ पुरुष ही जो है ऐसा शक्तिशाली प्रचार कर सकता है जैसा प्रभुपाद ने किया। जब प्रभुपाद लंदन में गए तो लंदन में वहाँ प्रभुपाद से पूछा गया कि प्रभुपाद आपको कैसा लगा। संवाददाताओं ने पूछा कि आपको कैसा लगा लंदन। तो प्रभुपाद ने कहा कि लंदन नरक है, लंदन नरक है। तो ये भी जो है मतलब एक पहली बार एक साधु ने लंदन में जाकर के लंदन को नरक कहा और समाचार पत्र में बड़े बड़े अक्षरों में फ्रंट पेज में छपा कि स्वामी सेज लंदन इज हेल। जब गांधी जी गए लंदन, उनसे पूछा, गांधी जी से पूछा कि गांधी जी आपको लंदन कैसा लगा। तो गांधी जी ने कहा कि अच्छा लगा लंदन, और मैं चाहता हूं कि प्रत्येक भारतीय को इसी प्रकार की सुविधाएं मिलें जीवन की जैसे लंदन में है। लेकिन प्रभुपाद चूंकि वैकुंठ से आए थे तो वैकुंठ की तुलना में लंदन क्या है, नरक है। तो प्रभुपाद कहते हैं लंदन नरक है। गांधी जी कहते हैं कि प्रत्येक भारतीय को इसी प्रकार की जीवन की सुविधाएं मिले, तो मतलब इंद्रिय तृप्ति। तो गांधी जी क्या चाहते हैं, प्रत्येक भारतीय को इंद्रिय तृप्ति की ऐसी सुविधाएं मिलें और बाद में जाए नरक में। लेकिन प्रभुपाद जो है सीधे प्रहार करते, अज्ञान को काटते हैं। जैसे साधु का कार्य है काटना, अज्ञान को काटता है तो तीखे शब्द बोलते हैं प्रभुपाद, है ना। और उनका जो है जो प्रचार था वो बिल्कुल निर्भीक प्रचार था, पूरा निर्भीक प्रचार था, है ना। तो प्रभुपाद ने फिर कभी अपने शिष्यों से कहा, उनके शिष्यों ने कहा कि हम आपका ऋण कैसे उतार सकते हैं। प्रभुपाद, आपने हमको जो ज्ञान दिया, आपने हमको हमारा जीवन जैसे बदला, इसका हम कैसे ऋण उतार सकते हैं। तो प्रभुपाद ने कहा कि तुम ऋण कभी नहीं उतार सकते, लेकिन फिर भी तुम एक कार्य कर सकते हो कि मेरी तरह प्रचार करो। तो प्रभुपाद ने कहा कि तुम मेरी तरह प्रचार करो। तो हमारा भी प्रचार जो है इसी प्रकार से होना चाहिए। तो ये बात बिल्कुल पक्की है कि प्रभुपाद का जो जन्म है वो उनके कर्म के अनुसार नहीं हुआ। इस भौतिक जगत के वो जीव नहीं थे, वो बद्ध जीव नहीं थे, वो जो है भगवान के द्वारा भेजे गए थे। और जैसे कि कोई राजा होता है अपने सेनापति को भेजता है, कहीं अगर गड़बड़ी होती है तो राजा खुद नहीं जाता है, सेनापति को भेजता है। उसी प्रकार से चैतन्य महाप्रभु राजा हैं और प्रभुपाद जो है सेनापति हैं, और प्रभुपाद को उन्होंने जो है मतलब विदेशों में भेजा। तो चैतन्य महाप्रभु जो भविष्यवाणी की थी, हरि बोल, चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने भविष्यवाणी की थी, पृथ्वी त्याच है जत नगर आदि ग्राम, सर्वत्र प्रचार होय बे मोर नाम, कि संपूर्ण पृथ्वी में जितने नगर गांव हैं सर्वत्र मेरे नाम का प्रचार होगा। तो कोई भी जो गौड़ीय भक्त थे, वैष्णव थे, चैतन्य महाप्रभु की परंपरा में कोई नहीं सोच पाते थे कि कैसे होगा ये कैसे होगा, भारत से बाहर कैसे जाएगा ये हरि नाम, कैसे लोग जो है भक्त बनेंगे। और भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर ने भी प्रयास किया, अपने शिष्यों को भेजा, कभी बर्मा भेजा, लंदन भेजा, लेकिन वो भी लौट करके आ गए, संभव नहीं है, है ना। तो सब लोग सोच रहे चैतन्य महाप्रभु भविष्यवाणी कैसे सच्ची होगी, है ना। लेकिन प्रभुपाद चैतन्य महाप्रभु की भविष्यवाणी के बल पर गए। उनको विश्वास था कि चैतन्य महाप्रभु की भविष्यवाणी है तो जरूर सफल होगी। और चैतन्य प्रभुपाद ने जो है भगवान कृष्ण से प्रार्थना की, न्यूयॉर्क में जाकर के भगवान कृष्ण से प्रार्थना की कि मैं ये कार्य नहीं कर सकता, मेरे द्वारा संभव नहीं है कि मैं ये कार्य करूं। ये लोग रजोगुण तमोगुण में इतनी बुरी तरह से डूबे हुए हैं कि मैं इनको भागवत का संदेश भी कैसे दूं, ये कैसे सुनेंगे। लेकिन हाँ, आपका जो है ये कौतुक है, आपका तो खेल जो असंभव कार्य है वो आप खेल खेल में करते हैं। तो आपके लिए बड़ा खेल है कि आप जो है इनको ऐसी जो है वाणी प्रदान करें, मेरे मुख से ऐसी वाणी निकालें कि वो इनके हृदय में प्रवेश कर जाएगी। और हृदय में अगर प्रवेश कर गई, प्रविष्टा श्रृण्वता स्वकथाम कृष्ण पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तना, तो प्रभुपाद विश्वास करते थे कि अगर कृष्ण भागवत की जो है जो कथा है अगर इनके हृदय में प्रवेश कर जाए तो हृदयंता स्थो है भद्राणी विदुनोति सुरसताम, तो भगवान जो है हृदय में इनके स्थित होकर के हृदय स्वच्छ कर देंगे। तो आप जो है कौतुकी हैं, आपका जो है खेल है, आप बड़े खिलाड़ी हैं, तो ऐसे ऐसे कार्य आप कर सकते हैं। तो मेरे शब्द जो है आप ऐसा करिए कि इनके हृदय में प्रवेश कर जाएं और इनके हृदय में जो है वो शुद्धिकरण होगा और फिर ये जो है भक्त बनेंगे। तो प्रभुपाद ने बड़ी तीव्र पुकार की थी, बड़ी तीव्र प्रार्थना की थी कृष्ण से कि आप जो है ऐसा करिए, मेरे शब्दों को इतना शक्तिशाली बनाइए कि इनके हृदय में प्रवेश कर जाएं। और प्रभुपाद जो है प्रभुपाद को वो शब्द मिल गए, भगवान कृष्ण के द्वारा वो शब्द मिल गए कि प्रभुपाद ऐसा बोल सके। तो 1986 में मैं चौड़ी बाजार में गया था, तो एक दुकान पेपर सिंडिकेट एक दुकान है, लाइफ मेमर की दुकान थी, कागज की दुकान थी। तो उस दुकान में जब मैं बैठा था तो एक सज्जन वहाँ पर आए, तो बोले कि आप इस्कॉन के भक्त हैं? मैंने कहा हाँ मैं इस्कॉन का भक्त हूँ। तो बोले कि आपके प्रभुपाद ने जब रामलीला मैदान में, रामलीला ग्राउंड में प्रवचन दिया था तो स्टेज में वो बैठे प्रवचन दे रहे थे और मैंने श्री कृष्ण को देखा प्रभुपाद के पीछे खड़े हैं। तो मैंने उनके शिष्यों से कहा कि आपके गुरु इतने महान हैं कि भगवान कृष्ण उनके पीछे खड़े हैं। तो उनके शिष्यों ने मुझसे कहा हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल, उनके शिष्यों ने कहा ये कैसे संभव है। तब मैं समझा कि उनके शिष्य नहीं देख रहे हैं भगवान कृष्ण को। तो मैंने कहा कि आप कैसे भगवान कृष्ण को देख पाए प्रभुपाद के पीछे? बोले मैं रोज नारायण कवच का पाठ करता हूं। मैं नारायण कवच का पाठ करता हूं रोज, तो इसके बल पर जो है मैं देख पाया कि भगवान कृष्ण प्रभुपाद के पीछे खड़े हैं। तो ये जो है मतलब उन्होंने ये बात मुझसे कही और ये बिल्कुल मतलब ऐसा बताया कि बिल्कुल सत्य, भगवान कृष्ण जो है प्रभुपाद के पीछे खड़े हैं और उनको शब्द प्रदान कर रहे हैं। प्रभुपाद जो प्रवचन देते हैं तो उनको शब्द मिलते हैं, तो भगवान कृष्ण ही शब्द दे रहे हैं। तो ये जो सच्ची घटना है, 86 में एक सज्जन मुझे मिले थे चौड़ी बाजार में। हरे कृष्णा। श्रील प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।